The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, may we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, may we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this, may we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Okay, lovely. Well, we continue this week with Master Keizan's Zazen Yojinki, points to keep in heart for Zazen. But really, our friends, the house swallows, were teaching Master Keizan's message today already. Did you notice sometimes, we speak of the monkey mind, but I'm going to talk about the swallow mind, the Suzume mind. Did you notice sometimes we get, very big, very upset, very noisy, and then we'd sit quiet. Akiko-san, スズメの鳴き声と座禅の後同じ。時々、やかましい、怖い。その後静かになる。It becomes quiet. We have a Japanese guest, so I'll be putting a little Japanese today. I don't need to tweet for the birds, they already understand. But our mind is just the same. This is Master Keizan's same message today. We try, we think, we're worried, checking on the eggs, how is it? And then sometimes you could see there was another kind of quiet where it was more restful. I think they get used to us, they check us out. And then, like that. I also noticed, by the way, I noticed this earlier in the week, there's 3 adults around the nest. And I thought, well, that's interesting. How are there 3 adults? And then my first response was, well, this is the 21st century. We don't ask, whatever they want, it's fine. We don't judge, right? But actually, I did a little research. This is very common. There's some theories about it. I'll post that later, but it's a very nice thing. Basically, bottom line, it's a family or even a group of unrelated birds, they're not sure, helping each other. One bird maybe doesn't have a family. He's not in competition with the other 2. He's helping them at the nest. All right? That's called Sangha. Sangha. Ne? どうして3年みんな親戚か知れない鳥かもしれないんですけど、手伝っている。競争じゃない。第3の鳥はね、2人を手伝っている。その意味、その研究家の調べによってね、Akiko-san. Okay, so Master Keizan this week gives us more advice about Zazen. Well, Keizan sensei no Zazen no setsumei. And some of it's very practical, but again, some of it is about the mind and attitude of Zazen. And the surprise here is, I don't want to say the opposite of how you expect to meditate, but it's non-doing. Non-doing is how we do. Zazen no yaru hoho wa shizuka ni natte nani mo yarinai koto desu. だからKeizanのメッセージはこうですね。First, he says you should spread a thick mat, zabuton, for comfortable sitting. That's very practical. My legs started to cramp up a little today. It's happened recently as I'm getting older. A zabuton might help. The place for practice should be clean. Yes, generally clean. We're being a little tolerant of the bird poo-poos this month, but generally I will clean up some of them after. Then he says, burn incense and offer flowers to the Dharma protectors. Now, the incense and the flowers are, how to say, olfactory, from the nose, and visual. I like to say reminders of what a special sacred place this is. The incense doesn't work any magic. The statue of Buddha, to me, doesn't work any magic except as a reminder. Now, it happened today when the birds at the start of the Heart Sutra, when they first started, I actually got a little at the start. Oh, the birds. Maybe I'm going to go outside and do this. I didn't know what to do because I thought the birds, I'm upset. It wasn't like I was worried about the birds. I was upsetting the birds, and upsetting the birds was upsetting me. I didn't want to bother the birds, right? But as I looked at the Buddha altar, I saw the statue and the incense came my way. My heart went to peace. Suddenly the birds are flying and it was fine. This is the incense and the Buddha statue, the power it has. 今日はね、般若心経の時はね、最初はね、私は慌てたね。けど、仏像を見て、お線香の匂いね、感じて、私の心も平和になりました。鳥と私はね、大丈夫になりました。ね、最初はね、けど、その後、大丈夫。ね。仏像は終わっていない。The Buddha on the altar was not upset. He was not going like this. He was just sitting. So I said, okay, I'll relax too, like that. The smoke was just drifting. I'll just drift like that. Let the birds fly. So this is what he means when he says, burn incense and offer flowers to the Dharma protectors, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and your practice will be protected. Put a statue of Buddha, Bodhisattva, or an Arhat on the altar, and demons of distraction will not overwhelm you. The actual literal says, demons will not overwhelm you. And I don't know, Keizan back in the 14th century, he might have meant, here's our little demons today. He might have meant that real demons will not bother you, but I think he meant demons of the heart. If you put the statue, you won't get distracted. Just looking at the statue, having the statue present. It's good to have a statue of Buddha in the room. 仏像はね、見ると、私たちの心はね、平和のことを、なんていうの、覚える。見るだけでね。それ仏像はいいことですね。We have lots here. We got lots of bodhisattvas. I even have an arhat over there. And then the next reminder. Remain always compassionate and dedicate the limitless virtue of Zazen to all beings. This is also very basic. Mahayana Buddhism, basic 101. You are not just practicing for yourself. You're practicing for the world, for all sentient beings. これは一番大事ね。普通にはね、自分のためにね、いろいろことしますけど、座禅違う。座禅はね、他の生き物のために座禅します。世界のために。Even the birds, in a sense, maybe, they're protecting their nest, of course. They're protecting their nest because they're animals. But at the same time, they may not realize it. They're protecting all of nature because nature needs every bird, you see. The birds, they protect their territory. They do it for themselves, perhaps. We sentient beings, human sentient beings, maybe we can realize something wider. So we don't just practice for our nest. we dedicate our Zazen for the whole world, for all sentient beings. This is incredibly important. だから、鳥はね、自分の巣を守るんですけど、動物だから。けど、人間はちょっと違う。人間はね、座禅するときにね、自分の座布を守ることじゃなくて、他の人間のために、他の全部の世界のために座禅絡んでいます。その態度が大事。That's the attitude. Okay, so please practice with Bodhisattva spirit for all sentient beings. Okay? Do not be arrogant. Do not be proud of yourself and your understanding of Dharma. Being arrogant is the way of the heretical and ignorant people. I think that speaks for itself. Be humble in your practice. Huh? Be humble. Please believe me. Take my word, because I am the greatest Zen teacher in the world, so you can trust me. 私、世界一の上手の座禅の先生だから、信頼してください。Yeah, don't be arrogant. 鼻高いことはダメね。Okay. Next, vow to cut off all delusions and realize enlightenment. Of course, we want to get rid of all the ignorance, the anger, and we want to get satori. We want to get, ne, satori, ne, 平和、欲しい、腹が立つこと、stop、欲望、stop したい。ね、それは仏教の目的。We want to stop our anger and our delusion. We want to get satori and realize peace. How do we do this? Here he comes with the trick. Just sit without doing anything. Huh? How do you do something? By doing nothing. Isai, what is it? Tasazu? Nanimo shinai hoho de daiji na koto shimasu. Huh? Nanimo shinai hoho de daiji na koto shimasu. How do we do something so important by not doing anything? Doesn't make sense. If you want to build a building, you have to do things. You have to get bricks and you have to build. If you want to plant a garden, you have to do things. You have to get seeds and water them. If you want to raise a family in a nest, you have to put the eggs and then you have to get food and bring it to the nest. You have to do things. All life is doing. Jinsei wa ne, yaru shinakeba naranai koto ippai. We go to the gym. Undo yarenakeba naranai. Zazen wa sono gyaku. Zazen, though, is the stopping of all doing for a while. And when you stop this doing, you actually do something very special. This is his message today. So let's continue a little bit. This is the essence of the practice of Zazen. Always wash your eyes and feet. Me to ashi orate. Now, first I thought, well, that's strange. He put the very practical advice in here. I guess if you're sitting in small space like we were, please wash your feet. Right? So that's very practical, you know. But actually, I checked this out. I believe this is an old Chinese expression, which means something like, put everything down from head to toe. この目と足を洗う意味はね、昔のことわざです。意味はなんとか、世界の全部の問題、世界の全部の関係、置いてください。Something like that. Put everything down. Okay? ことわざです。About 目を洗って、足洗ってね。Just put everything down. That's what it means. But also, please, everybody, do wash your feet. It's a good thing. All right. For the other people. I mean, we sit Zazen in equanimity, right? And we accept all things. But I have sat Zazen next to a guy who forgot that. And, you know, please. Okay. No, I'm not looking at you. I don't mean you. Okay. Always wash your eyes and feet. Keep your body and mind at ease. Relax, tranquil. The way to be at ease is to sit at ease. How do I get at ease? Where's the ease? No. The way to get at ease is just to sit at ease. That's what we do. And maintain a proper demeanor. We're a bit, we sit with nice posture. Ne? Chanto suaru ne? Kido dekiru dake ne? Zenbu ne? Zenbu no jinsei no zenbu ne? Oite oite. Raku ni suwatte kudasai. Zazen igai ni nani mo suru koto nai. だから何もしない。座禅座っている間はね、座禅の他にやることない。その態度が大事。So we sit at ease, nothing to do. Of course, what we're doing during Zazen is to sit Zazen. There's nothing else to do, maybe is a good way to say this. When you're sitting, there's nothing else to do but sit. But I have to do this. I have to pay my son's taxes later today. I have to do something for my wife. No, when you're sitting, 後で okay, do it later. 後でいろいろやらなければならないことは、誰かいる。はい、すいません。届いていいですか？サインしなければならないんですか？はい、はい。ちょっと置いていいですか？置いていいですか？はい。Yes. はい。ありがとうございます。Yeah. I just had to do something other than give you a talk. I had to get a package. We sometimes have things we have to do. But during Zazen, Zazen no toki ni, Zazen igai ni, seikai chu ni, hoka ni yaru koto nai. During the time of Zazen, there's nothing else to do but Zazen. Throw away worldly sentiments during Zazen. Even if you're doing Zazen and it starts to feel real good, don't even be attached to your Zazen. Just relax. Yeah? これ欲しい、これやらなければならない、平和欲しい。even Zazen の時でも、Zazen の平和欲しい。ありも置いておいてください。座禅の間に欲しいこと一つだけ。座禅座ること。人生の普通の日常の欲しいの逆です。座っている間はね、only 座禅だけ。それ他に欲しいことない。When we're sitting, there is nothing more to wish for, but sit. There is nothing more to do, but don't even become attached to your Zazen. That's how unattached we are. Just sit. Now, the next one is a caution for us people sitting here preaching the Dharma. I'll read it. Though you should not begrudge anyone the Dharma, do not preach it unless you are asked. Even if someone asks, keep silent 3 times. If the person still asks you from his or her heart, then teach him or her. Out of the 10 times you may desire to speak, remain silent for 9. Boy, I gotta remind myself of that every day. As if mold were growing around your mouth, be like a folded fan in December. In other words, no use, keep it in your pocket. Or like a wind bell hanging in the air, indifferent to the direction of the wind. Just go with the flow. This is how a person of the way should be. Do not use the Dharma to profit at the expense of others. That's a good reminder. By the way, have you all sent your checks this month? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Joke. Do not use the way as a means to make yourself important. These are the most important points to keep in mind. That's a good reminder for anyone, especially my priests who are here and my hopefully soon to be priests. We're doing this for others, not for ourselves, and be humble. Don't get a big ego. We like to say in Zen, I know many Zen teachers, we all have tremendously big non-egos. Get it? Yeah. Okay. ごめんなさい、Akiko-san. Joke, Okay. Now, the things we usually do in Buddhist practice, including most meditation, is, well, first off, there's teachings of Buddhism, and we want to learn and study the teachings. Some schools of Buddhism are based very much on teaching and learning. ね、禅でもいろいろ勉強しなければならないことはね、いろいろ禅の本とか、昔のお経とかね、いろいろの勉強すること。けど、座禅もその逆です。And then we also have what? We also have practice, 行。ね、修行。ね、お寺で修行。けど、座禅も修行の後。Zazen is kind of, as we're going to see, I'm giving a spoiler, non-practice. Of course we practice. Of course we study some books, right? We study books. We do some practice. He's not saying to the monks, during Zazen, and even in the temple, all of life, you should have the attitude somewhere in your bones. Your practice is non-practice. Your learning is somehow beyond words. And the third one, realization, which is sho, satori. Satori o toru koto janakute, satoru wa ne, nanto ka stop suru toki ni satori. So, 勉強じゃなくて、座禅の時にストップして、修行ストップして、悟りどこストップすれば、あるいは、教行書、あるいは、when we stop, that's the realization of the teaching. When we stop in Zazen, that's the realization of the practice. When we stop in Zazen and just rest, that's the realization of realization. And then he continues. Of course, we have teaching, practice, realization, but he says instead, these three aspects are all contained within it, within Zazen. Measuring realization is based upon some notion of waiting for enlightenment. Satori itsu desu ka? Watashi ima hanbun desu ka? Satori no hanbun desu ka? 4分の3ですか? 待っている悟り、tori じゃなくて、悟り。悟り、違うね。Yeah, I made a little joke. Anyway, so we think, oh, wait a second, I think I'm half enlightened, or I get enlightened next week, or if I keep practice. And he says, no, this is this enlightenment is something of not waiting for it. It's not, you wait for a bus. Where's the bus? And then suddenly one day you realize, oh, wait a second, I'm on the bus. I've been on the bus all along. So measuring realization is based upon some notion of waiting for enlightenment. This is not the essence of Zazen. Zazen is no waiting for enlightenment. Zazen is, spoiler alert, enlightenment embodied. こういうふうに座っている間はね、あれは悟り。何も他に必要ない。何も足りないことない。ここがここ。他に行くところはない。あれは、ブダの態度。あれはブダの感じ。あれは悟り。That's just sitting, no other place to go, nothing more to do. Sitting to sit. This is, I think, what the Buddha, was struggling, searching here and there in India. He had tried many intense practice, concentration practice, even starving his body. Then one day he sat under the tree and saw the stars shining just to shine. Nothing more to do. This is our understanding of Satori. Practice is based upon strenuous application. 修行はね、一生懸命しなければならない。ね、一生懸命やれなければ、順に、ね、行くときは、私、一生懸命やれなきゃ、ね、サゼンはその逆。Zazen is the opposite of strenuous application. Now, again, he's not saying in all of life, just stop trying, quit. He's not saying that. Don't be so serious ever. There are times to be not serious in life. There are times to be serious in life. He's not saying don't study anything. Even Keizan studied things. He's saying there's a time to stop. 時々人生でね、一生懸命やらなければならない時あるね。それは必要。それは人生。ね。勉強することある。学生。ね。けど、座禅の時はね、その必要ない。Only in the time of Zazen, we stop. And then, after, when you go back to life, when you go back to the struggle, when you go back to the study, maybe that same peace, though, is still in your heart. 座禅の後に人生に戻るときはね、また一生懸命時ある、仕事ある、心配ある、勉強ある。けど、その時、座禅の影響で骨の中に何もやらなくてもいい感じ、ちょっと残っている。一生懸命やらなければならないけど、心はね、ちょっとだけ、いや、一生懸命じゃなくても大丈夫。そういう座禅の影響まだ残っているかもしれない。So the effect of Zazen maybe is still in your heart when you get back to the world and you got work to do. And I do have to do my son's taxes later today. That was not, I didn't make that up. It's his first time to pay taxes. I gotta help. Okay. What was the third one? Teaching is based upon freeing from evil and cultivating good. Of course, we want to do that. Yeah? We want to do good. We want to get away from bad. But when you're sitting Zazen, do we say there's no good and bad in Zazen? No, no, no. It's kind of like we transcend normal human judgments of good and bad and find kind of a big good. 普通にね、これはいい、これ悪い、この好き、これ嫌い、時あるね。座禅の時は違う。好き嫌い捨てて、いい悪い捨てて。けど、本当にいいと悪い超える。その時はね、この成果はね、何か大きいです。Okay, everything's okay. So we sit Zazen, we put down 好き嫌い。座禅の時に、座禅は OK。いいと悪い、we put down good, bad. When we're sitting zazen, it's good. And we find out that somehow some big good, hard to explain. Okay. All right, so now he goes into the details. Teaching is found in Zen, but it is not the usual teaching. Rather, it is direct pointing, just expressing the way, speaking with the whole body. When we just sit, karada no zentai wa ne okyo desu. When we just sit, the whole body is a sutra. Like that. You don't have to get it from a shelf. You don't have to listen to a talk. When you're sitting, all the sutra is your body. 座っているときはね、ブダの教え、禅先生の話、お経の内容、全部この体の座りです。他に読む必要はない。There's nothing need to read anything else. Like that. Of course, later, please study some Buddhism, fine. But when you're sitting, this body is all the reading done. Like that. Such words are without sentences or clauses. この座禅のお経はね、文法必要ないね。言葉必要ない。Don't need grammar, don't need words. Where views end and concept is exhausted, the one word pervades the 10 directions. Put down all your opinions, your judgments. The debate. What is the correct interpretation of this? Which candidate is going to win the election? That's important later, all that. But when you're sitting, put down the debate. 座っている間はね、いろいろ意見してて、いろいろ討論してて、これ正しい、これは間違っている。これ全部座るだけ。Just sit beyond all opinions. That's how we realize the true teaching of the Buddhas and patriarchs in Zazen. Next, although we speak of practice, it is not a practice that you can do. That is to say, the body does nothing. The mouth in Zazen doesn't say anything, doesn't chant anything. The mind is not thinking things over. The six senses are left to their clarity and unaffected. 座禅の間にいろいろ考えていくことじゃなくて、部屋を見ているんだけど、別に部屋のこと考えていない。頭のみす休んでいます。And then he goes into, mentions various kinds of Buddhist philosophy that have to do with other kinds of meditation. Like some meditation, the monks are progressing up 10 stages, you know. You go, I'm at level 3, I'm at level 7, oh, I'm a Buddha, you know, like that. Wow, I get there, you know. Or I have to analyze the world according to Buddhist philosophy about co-existent causation, like that. And put it all down. So he says, so this is not the 16-stage practice of the early Buddhist disciples that had stages. これはこの昔の仏教はね、階段みたいに、この上、これは目的、悟り、ブッダね。けど、座禅違う。階段はない。ここは届くところ。これは目的。Like that. Nor is it the practice of understanding the 12 factors of interdependent origination of those whose practice is founded upon isolation, the Prakta Buddha. Don't have to worry about that too much, but basically, again, it's not a practice of getting lost in the philosophy. Of course, later you can study some Buddhist philosophy, that's good. But right now when we're sitting, it's not like that. It is without struggle at all. Don't struggle. Nor is it the six perfections within numberless activities of the bodhisattvas. The six perfections, perfection of generosity, perfection of wisdom. Those are important, of course, but again, it's all realized in Zazen when you're sitting. It is without struggle at all, so is called awakening or enlightenment. 人生にいろいろ争っていますね。争って。Zazenはね、争っていない時です。座るだけ。Usually in life we're struggling, striving. Zazen is just without struggle. It's not giving up. やめることじゃない。ね。 ちゃんと座っているんだけど、争っていない。他にやることない。It's not giving up, it's not being a quitter. We're sitting upright and dedicated, but at the same time, there's no struggle. Just rest in the samadhi in which all of the Buddhas receive and use themselves as Buddhas. Jiju Zanmai, sometimes called the self-enjoyment samadhi of the Buddhas. Samadhi is usually thought to be some deep, deep, deep concentration. And sometimes when we're sitting, we get into a very deep, deep, deep place. But what Keizan is obviously discussing here is a different kind of samadhi. The samadhi of no struggle, sitting in peace, nothing more to do, like that. And then how to say, it's good, it's enjoyable, it really is peaceful, it's nice, like that. Wandering playfully in the four practices of peace and bliss of the bodhisattvas. And what are the four practices? Blissful and peaceful activities of body, mouth, and mind, and of carrying out your vows are the four practices of peace and bliss. But again, when we practice Zazen, it doesn't mean you have to be blissful all the time. Sometimes it's very blissful. Sometimes it's so just okay. Sometimes even you're crying, it doesn't feel like bliss, but there's a peace there. Zazen 座っている間はね、いつも、超平和、超嬉しいじゃない。時々ね、座禅はね、普通。時々座禅は悲しい日でも。けど、座禅の何でも OK。OK です。This is the profound and inconceivable practice of Buddhas and ancestors. And last, about realization, Satori. Although, we Zen folks speak of getting enlightened, realization, this realization does not show itself, does not hold itself out as being realization, enlightenment. This enlightenment doesn't show itself. This is enlightenment. Although it's very strange to express this. Although realization is realized, it is the realization of non-realization. When you're on the bus, when you are the bus, in Satori, it's almost like you're sitting there and you realize you're not only on the bus, this world, you are the bus. When you are the bus, you don't have to wait for the bus. ね、普通に人生でいろいろ待っている。例えば、バス、なんていうの、街のバス、スクールバスね、待っている。いつ来る？あ、座禅の時はね、もうずっと前からバスに座っている。だから待つ必要ない。けど、座禅の立場もう一つね、バス、この世界と私たち一です。だから、一だから、もう待つ必要ない。We're already this world. もうこの世界です。だから、もうこの人生です。私たち。だから人生を待つ必要はない。Something like that. 大体。ごめんなさい。通じないかもしれない。変な日本語。ごめんね。So realization is not something you need to wait for. You realize it by non-realizing it. This is the practice of supreme samadhi, which is the knowing of unborn, unobstructed, and spontaneously arising awareness. When you have that kind of clarity, it feels like something that comes from nowhere, goes from nowhere. Things in the world seem to come and go, but this doesn't come from anywhere, doesn't go from any, it's just always is. It's always the bus, always this thing. It's unobstructed. It's just clear and free. And it just arises when you stop the hunting. And so it's unborn, unobstructed, spontaneously arising clarity, awareness. Okay? この平和の方法に座るときはね、人生はね、なんていうよ、OK になる。人生はね、自由になる。人生はね、戦い必要はない感じしますね。全部なんとかわかる。人生は人生。Like that. It is the door of luminosity, illumination, which opens out into the realization of the Buddha, born through the practice of the great ease. Now, you would think that Buddhas are holy and we're like ignorant people, and there is wisdom and confusion. And it's true. But the way to realize this is to transcend even those divisions of the mind. The bird, the nest, you, me, the Buddha on the altar are not separate. Like that. This goes beyond the patterns of holy and profane. It goes beyond confusion and wisdom. And when you go beyond holy and profane, the ordinary, it's holy. And when you go beyond confusion and wisdom, it's wise. It's something like when you say there's peace and war. この世界はね、戦争と平和ある。だから戦争はもちろんダメ。平和がいい。けど仏教の立場、戦争と平和を超えるときに、あれは本当の平和。There's war and there's peace. And of course, in this world, we do everything we can to stop the war. There are so many wars in this world that are breaking my heart. And there's peace, and we want to work for peace. This is important in this world. But in Buddhism, in your Zazen, you sit beyond war and beyond peace, and that's the true peace. Of course, there's sickness and there's health. Byoki no toki, genki no toki aru. Mochiron, byoki no toki ni kusuri nonde, genki ni naritai. When we're sick, of course, we take our medicine, we take our treatment, we want to get healthy. Of course. But Zazen is different. Listen to this. In Zazen, we sit right through putting down the judgment of sickness and health. Zazen no toki wa ne, genki to byoki no sa shiteru. Genki ga ii, byoki no warui, してる。今、とりあえず置いておいて、これ本当の元気です。この本当の元気はね、普通の元気と病気を超える。普通の元気がなんとか入っているけど。To realize the true peace that holds peace and war, to realize the true health that's beyond this worldly health and sickness. This is Zazen. So it goes beyond the patterns of holy and profane, beyond confusion and wisdom. This is the realization of unsurpassed enlightenment as our own nature, one's original face, innate great enlightenment. Okay. Now, next time, next month, I hope, when I'm back, I hope, from my trip to Taiwan. By the way, I'm going to Taiwan I was invited to a conference, so I am going the last 2 weeks of June. Someone else, there'll be Zazen, but someone else from a Tree Leaf will be guiding it. And hopefully I'll be back in July. Now, there'll be Zazen here every week. Don't worry. I'm just going to be in Taiwan. But when we have next month, we'll talk about Master Keizan says, Zazen, by the way, is also not discipline, practice, or wisdom. and his logic continues much the same. So, 今度はね、あっちから続きます。We'll continue there next time. Okay? Now, I have to express. これからアキコさん、バカバカしいダンスします。リラックスするときはね、そのすぐ見つけますね。But right now, let's first off, any questions, complaints, answers? Do you want your those checks returned?